Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock, so we'll get started. I will at this time call to order the Diversion Authority Land Management Committee meeting of Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. Don, would you take the roll so we can see if we've got a quorum?
Mrs. Shirley.
I am here.
Mayor Peterson. Mr. Grubb. Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Borboom.
Here.
Mr. Hendrickson. Mr. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Brightling.
Here.
Ms. Monjo. Ms. Preston. Mr. Zimmerman.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Wonderful, thank you. So the only one we have online is Mr. Olson, is that correct?
Correct. Roger is online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Grubb. You have before you the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda or a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes of the previous meeting were sent out earlier. Are there any additions or corrections, changes to the minutes or a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the motion
Aye.
carries. And moving on to item number 4, flowage easement update. Who's going to take that? Jody?
Yeah, I think I'll start.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We just want to provide you with a quick update. Last month when we met, we had notified the committee that we would be sending out the flowage easement packets. The team did a really great job. Those all went out on time. I haven't heard any negative feedback. We've actually received some positive feedback about those packets and kind of how they were drafted. We had a very concerted effort to make the language a little bit more consumable for our constituents. And so we have also had 5 meetings in the past 2 weeks. And thank you to those of you who are able to attend those. We sent out these flowage easements. There are about 361 appraisals that were completed. There was about 200 property owners. Between last week, where we had the 14th, 15th, and 16th in North Dakota, this week we had Monday and Tuesday, so the 22nd and 23rd here in Minnesota. We figure we touched about 100 different landowners. So about 50% of them. We did about a 45-minute presentation. When I say we, I really mean Eric did that. And then we had time for the landowners to meet with their land agents. We did have some consistent questions that came forward to us, and we'll be working with our communications team to get you all some informational points moving forward. One of those questions consistently was the dispute resolution board. How will this work when we have a dispute? How is this constructed? That information is on our website, just so you know, you can download the resolution and review it. But again, I think it'll be important that we're able to provide that consistent messaging to anybody that has that question. The other question that we received a lot about is crop insurance. That is something that we don't have fully developed. I know that we had someone come out from Watson Associates last July. They provided a great presentation. We have a focus group that we've been meeting with consistently. We're continuing to develop that. That's a little bit more challenging because there's questions that we can't answer at this point in time, so that makes it harder for the landowners. But it is noted in the flowage easement that we will have this crop insurance in place prior to operations of the comprehensive project. So overall, I think it was a very successful effort. I know that the land agents have approvals from some of the landowners. Nothing's been signed yet, but we've already gotten some of that feedback. And speaking to some of you and others at these meetings, again, I'm not hearing quite as much consternation about the flowage easements and the information that went out. But again, time will tell as the land agents get out there and meet with them. So are there any questions that Eric and I can answer for you kind of about what has occurred over the past month? Okay, so the next steps then are the land agents are making a concerted effort to kind of touch every single one of the landowners and again, answer any questions, provide feedback to us if there's any themes with concerns, and then we can address those as we move forward. But really our goal at this point in time is get the land agents out there with the landowners and see if we can't get these flowage easements signed.
So what's the motivation to get this completed sooner rather than, stacking everybody up 5 years from now and then having to scramble to get it done. I mean, I would assume land prices could go down, and so that, and they're pretty darn good right now. I don't think so. From what I can tell.
So
That might make a difference.
yeah, no, that's a fair question, Commissioner, members of the committee. Really, the impetus of getting these out the door now, what we did when we were starting this and how we were going to get these packets out the door really prefaced into backing into this date. So at what point in time do we have to have secured all those flowage easements so that we can get the permits necessary to operate the comprehensive project? And then backing into that, we kind of ended up with a date of, now we need to get those flowage easements out to give us as much of a runway to work with these landowners in negotiations before we'd have to take any next steps. And that, unfortunately, we don't want to take, but may have to take if we can't settle these. So again, our goal was to give as much time as possible with the landowners and our land agents to kind of get out there and have those conversations. If we waited any further, really what we'd be bumping up against is some of the schedules with the Corps and with RVA and getting those completions done in time.
Great. Were there any other consistent questions that you guys got? Seemed like a pretty engaged group when I was there. People really wanted to learn about the process.
Yeah, Eric answered some, engineering questions about hydrology, and I steered away from those because I'm not the engineer, but I don't know. What are your thoughts, Eric?
I was really pleased with the engagement from the audience. I thought there was, genuine, sincere interest in learning about the project, learning about appraisals, learning about, the process we use for flowage easements. As Jody noted, questions about crop insurance. I think we've got a pretty good framework of that, but there are some details that are, still to be determined. So overall, I was really pleased with the meetings, the attendance. Thanks for the group that helped do a lot of the stage setup, and Jody and I were able to show up and everything was ready to go. And that was certainly nice to have done. So.
Yeah, I'd echo that. The A2S team, Jessica and Sabrina and others, Taylor got out there. We had audio and visual out there that allowed us to just kind of focus on the presentation, the constituents in the room. And I don't want to undervalue how much work it takes to get in a room with our constituents and make sure that all their needs are met and get that room set up so that we can just kind of focus on what we need to do. So greatly appreciated.
Great. Well, thank you all for your
Maybe,
efforts there.
Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner.
I was able to attend the first meeting on the 14th, and I think you were too.
Yes.
Did the meeting at Christine go similarly?
So the first night, we probably had the largest attendance. The second night in Christine was pretty close. Absent the muddy parking lot that we had to deal with, it was, I think, probably one of the better nights. We had a good engaged crowd, really good questions at Christine. So yeah, I would say generally went as well. We did get some pizza from the bar across the street, which was even better. So,
Yeah.
Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, Mary, I just want to point out that our meeting on Monday night, we did have that broadcast live through the internet process, and it was recorded, and it was an excellent presentation, and I believe the intention is to put that on our website. Is that
right.
correct?
Yeah.
So, Commissioner, we're going to go through. So we have, that was the only one we were able to kind of live broadcast. So I appreciate you being willing to help kind of set that up. And so I'm not sure if there's a way to tell how many people go in and watch that. But A2S is kind of working through that process. If they're going to take the recording of that, we'll get that posted to our website. Anybody can go back in. The intention also of doing it that night versus another night is, and you were there, you kind of heard me announce, if anybody wasn't interested in being on camera while they asked the questions, we had them hold all their questions to the end versus kind of engaging with us throughout the process. And then the team at A2S is also going to go through all the nights, consolidate all the questions that were asked, and we're going to respond to all the questions that were asked in a document on the website that's next to the PowerPoint presentation, a recording of it, and then again, all the questions that were asked all 5 nights, we'll have an adequate response to it.
Great.
Last thing I would just mention, we do have a bunch of handouts of the presentation. I think there's a stack of them over there on the table if you're interested, this is on the project website, which thanks to Jody's leadership, there's been some big improvements to the website recently. So if you haven't been there lately, I'd encourage you to check that out. And if you want a hard copy, we have some here as well.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you again for that great effort. Moving on to item number 6, the Cass County Joint Water Resource District. Mr. Olson, are you online?
Do you want me to cover number 5, Mary? Sorry.
Pardon me?
Do you want me to cover number 5 on the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please do.
Okay.
Let's back up to item 5 and have Eric talk about the property acquisition status report.
You're all pretty familiar with this, but a few things I would point out this month for awareness. First, on the overall map page, the status page, you'll see a lot of blue. You'll see a lot of green along the channel and a scattering of some red colored parcels. So the blue means that we're in negotiation. That's the fruits of the labor of getting all those offers out and land agents out meeting with property owners. Previously, that was generally shaded in orange or yellow category. So big change this month on that regard. On the channel, we have been able to settle a few of the eminent domain actions that have been in place. Again, there's a bit of a time lag as those process through, and so you'll see some of those shifting from red to green as we move forward here. Otherwise, we continue to make progress. One thing we didn't mention after these easement offers for the upstream area went out the door, I believe we have 5 property owners already who have agreed basically at the appraised value or within a couple $100. So we'll be bringing those packages forward to the respective boards in the next few weeks, looking for board approval. And so we're starting to see some progress being made already. In the status report, you'll also notice a new map zoomed in on the upstream mitigation area. Given the large focus on this, we felt having a separate map showing the status was valuable and important moving forward. The rest of the report is similar to what you've seen in the past. I don't have anything real specific to add, but happy to address any questions if you have them. I would just point out, of course, the color-coded boxes on page 11 and 12 of your packet have been updated to match that same status of those offer letters. So,
Very good. Questions? Okay, then let's move on to item 6. Mr. Olson, do you have a report for us?
Yes. Very simple. Land agents continue to work on farmstead issues and trying to continue to figure out how we can best mitigate the farmstead issues. And also we're looking forward to seeing what these offers on the flowage easements and how they come back and how they're accepted. I know I was at 3 of the meetings, and I thought Eric did a fantastic job. Seemed to be able to capture, I think, the questions that I understand at the first meeting, and I think he was able to answer those in his presentation at the, the succeeding meetings. And I think, each meeting that went by, there was actually less questions. So I just have to get compliments to Eric and his team for putting those together. And there's nothing better than having a public meeting and not getting hollered at. So, all right, that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Roger? Then item number 7. Kevin, you have a lengthy report, I understand.
I promised Nathan 5 seconds. We meet tomorrow. I'll give a report tomorrow. How did I do, Nathan? Okay.
Okay. In your packet, we have the committee update that will be presented tomorrow that really reflects a lot of what Eric already talked about with the property acquisition status report. So With that, is there any other business?
Commissioner, I just want to point out that we do have the FM Diversion Project informational points. This is something that we gave out in December. It's a promise we had made that we'll provide to the various boards and committees on a quarterly basis. Again, it's just updated talking points when you get approached in the community. I'm going to email this out to you. I was telling Eric I started this email about 7 times today and kept getting distracted. So I'll try to get this out to you in an electronic version, but there are paper copies kind of sitting back on this table for you to look at.
Great, thank you. Are there any other policies that we need to be addressing in the near future that we haven't put the final blessing on that you two are aware of?
Commissioner and members of the committee, it's a good question. So right now what we're doing is evaluating the PRAM, and so we're kind of operating off of the property rights and mitigation plan version 5 right now. We've been working quite diligently over the past couple months to update this. Once that gets into a little bit more of a final form, comments from the internal group are due back to Mr. Shockley here this Friday. And then once that's done, it'll go out to a larger group. Once that is completed, I will start looking through the policies that were in draft form when I started. Some of those may be captured in the PRAM, and we just simply don't need a policy about it. Again, it's a little difficult for me to start through those policies until I have that in place. But I would anticipate you may get some either a plan, so there's a guidance document out there, or you will get a formal policy brought to you. It may be upwards of about 6 months before we get that into a better form. Again, what I don't like to do is have something that is approved by 2 state regulatory agencies, and we're kind of locked into a policy in that versus having something outside of that maybe we can negotiate a little bit more simply and duplicating those efforts. So just trying to streamline that process, but you may be seeing something.
And it's nice to get on top of these policies too, rather than getting too far down the road and then you have an issue and we really haven't flushed it out. So that would be my desire. Anything else? Then I would take a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Thank you. We're adjourned.